What if I told you that some of the most talented football players who ever lived did not retire because their bodies broke down? They did not walk away because they lost the fire, and they were not replaced by younger, better players. They vanished, quietly, mysteriously, without explanation. Because the National Football League decided, behind closed doors, through whispered phone calls and unspoken agreements, that these men were no longer welcome. No announcement, no official ban, no press conference, just silence. Roster spots that disappeared, phone calls that never came, tryouts that were never offered, for players who were clearly, undeniably still talented enough to play. And this is not conspiracy. This is documented, settled in court, written into the permanent record of this league whether the NFL wants to acknowledge it or not. Before we begin, this channel exists for one reason: to tell you the truth, the real, raw, uncomfortable truth about the NFL that the mainstream will never touch. And if that is what you have been searching for, subscribe right now. Hit the bell, and if any moment in this video gives you chills, drop a super thanks. Every dollar goes directly into producing the fearless content you deserve. Now, let us pull back the curtain. We start at number 10 with a name most fans have never heard: Craig Willihan, a quarterback who started 8 games for the San Diego Chargers in 1998, throwing for over 2,000 yards. Not a superstar, but a capable NFL quarterback. And after the Chargers moved on, Willihan could not find a single roster spot anywhere in the league. He was 27 years old, healthy, available, and invisible. Willihan's story represents the dozens of journeyman players who simply vanish from the NFL, not because they cannot play, but because the league moves on without explanation. No phone call, no closure, just silence. And if the league can erase a journeyman without anyone noticing, imagine what it can do to a star. Because that is exactly what happened to the next 9 players on this list, and the reasons will disturb you. Number 9. Jeff George, the first overall pick in the 1990 NFL Draft, a cannon arm that scouts compared to the greatest throwers in history. But George had a volatile personality that clashed with every coaching staff he played for. In Atlanta, he had an infamous sideline confrontation with head coach June Jones on national television in '96. He was released. He resurfaced with Oakland in '97, threw for 3,000 yards, and looked like a legitimate starter. But after bouncing through Minnesota and Washington, at 34 years old, with an arm still capable of making every throw, Jeff George's phone went silent. No offers, no workouts, no interest. The arm was there. The reputation was louder. The NFL erased him without a single press release. But George was blacklisted for attitude. What comes next is far more troubling, because the remaining players on this list were not silenced for being difficult. They were silenced for being brave. Number 8. Chris Cluvey, punter for the Minnesota Vikings from 2005 to 2012. Consistent, reliable, professional. In 2012, Cluvey became one of the most vocal advocates in sports for same-sex marriage during Minnesota's ballot measure. He wrote articles, he gave interviews, he used his platform to fight for equality. Then, the Vikings released him. Cluvey alleged his release was directly tied to his advocacy, claiming special teams coordinator Mike Prefer made inappropriate remarks. An investigation confirmed Prefer made at least one inappropriate remark. He was suspended 3 games. And Chris Cluvey? He never punted in the NFL again. 31 years old, still effective, completely frozen out. No team ever explained why a reliable veteran punter could not find a single roster spot. The silence was the explanation. And that silence echoes louder with every name still to come. Number 7. Terrell Owens, 3rd all-time in receiving yards, 3rd all-time in receiving touchdowns when he last played. A first-ballot Hall of Fame talent. In his final NFL season with the Cincinnati Bengals in 2010, at 36 years old, Owens caught 72 passes for 983 yards and 9 touchdowns. Those are starting wide receiver numbers from a 36-year-old. And not a single team signed him the following year. He attended workouts. He made it publicly known he wanted to play. The phone never rang. Owens was loud. He was polarizing. He divided locker rooms, but he was also still producing at a level that dozens of signed receivers could not match. That is not retirement, that is exile. The Hall of Famer who refused to attend his own induction ceremony in Canton tells you exactly how deep that wound still cuts. And if you think the NFL only blacklists players who cause drama, the next entry will change your mind completely. Number 6. Tim Tebow. In January 2012, Tebow threw an 80-yard overtime touchdown pass to Demaryius Thomas to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC wildcard game, one of the most electrifying plays in NFL history. He was 24 years old, he had just won a playoff game, and he never got another meaningful chance to start. Denver traded him after acquiring Peyton Manning. The Jets released him. Brief preseason stints with New England and Philadelphia led nowhere. The consensus was clear. Every team ran the same calculation. Tim Tebow's media circus was not worth the distraction, regardless of what he could contribute on the field. He was not blacklisted for what he believed or said. He was blacklisted for what he represented in the media landscape. The NFL did not ban him. It just ensured nobody was willing to deal with the noise. Remember that calculation, because the stakes are about to get infinitely higher. We are entering the top 5 now, and everything changes here. We are about to discuss a player blacklisted because of his sexual orientation, a legend forced out of an entire league because of his race, a player who organized one of the first civil rights boycotts in professional sports and was punished for it. And at number 1, the most documented, most consequential case of blacklisting in the history of American professional sports, a case that went to court, a case the NFL settled, a case that will follow this league forever. Subscribe right now if you have not. You need to hear what comes next. Number 5. Michael Sam. 2013 SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Year at the University of Missouri, the most dominant conference in college football. That award should guarantee an NFL career. In February 2014, Sam publicly announced he was gay. He became the first openly gay player drafted when the St. Louis Rams selected him in the 7th round, pick 249. The SEC Defensive Player of the Year, pick 249. Before coming out, Sam was projected as a mid-round selection with a guaranteed roster spot. After coming out, he fell to the final picks. The Rams cut him. Dallas signed him to their practice squad and released him weeks later. Michael Sam never played a single regular season NFL game. The SEC Defensive Player of the Year never played a game. The NFL celebrated the moment publicly and then quietly let him disappear. The celebration was for cameras. The silence afterward was the truth. Number 4. Cookie Gilchrist. In 1962, Gilchrist became the first player in AFL history to rush for over 1,000 yards. He was named the league's most valuable player, a force of nature. And off the field, he was something the football establishment feared. He was outspoken about racial injustice. In January '65, when the AFL All-Star Game was scheduled in New Orleans, black players reported widespread discrimination. Taxis refused them, restaurants turned them away, hotels rejected them. Gilchrist organized a boycott. The players refused to play. The game was moved to Houston. It was a landmark moment in sports activism, and it cost Cookie Gilchrist everything. He was traded from Buffalo shortly after. His career rapidly declined, not because his talent faded, because a man who stood up against racial injustice in 1965 became too dangerous to keep around. History remembers the boycott. History forgot the man who organized it, until now. Number 3. Warren Moon. In 1978, Moon led the University of Washington to a Rose Bowl victory and was named the game's MVP, a proven winner, physically gifted, intelligent, everything a franchise could want. And in the '78 NFL Draft, not a single team selected him, not in any round. The reason, confirmed by historians and Moon himself, is devastating in its simplicity. Warren Moon was a black quarterback, and in 1978, the NFL was not willing to invest in a black man at the sport's most important position. Moon went to the Canadian Football League. He won 5 consecutive Grey Cup championships with the Edmonton Eskimos. 5. He dominated so thoroughly that the NFL could no longer ignore him. He signed with the Houston Oilers in '84, and over 17 years, Warren Moon became a 9-time Pro Bowler, threw for over 49,000 yards, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame. The NFL forced one of the greatest quarterbacks in history to prove himself in another country because of the color of his skin. Warren Moon was not blacklisted from a team, he was blacklisted from an entire league, and he answered by becoming immortal. But even Moon's story does not match what the league did to the final 2 names on this list. Number 2, Eric Reid, former first-round pick, starting safety for the San Francisco 49ers. In 2016, Reid became the first player to kneel alongside his teammate during the national anthem to protest racial injustice and police brutality. After the 2017 season, Reid became a free agent. No team signed him for months. While objectively lesser players found roster spots across the league, Eric Reid waited by a phone that refused to ring. He finally signed with Carolina in late September 2018, nearly a month into the season. Reid filed a collusion grievance against the NFL, alleging teams conspired to keep him unsigned because of his protest. The case was settled. The terms were confidential, but settlements tell their own story. You do not settle a case you are confident you would win. Reid played 2 seasons in Carolina and was released after 2019. 27 years old, a former first-round pick, a multi-year starter, and he never played another snap. Eric Reid stood beside his teammate when it mattered most. The NFL made him pay for it surgically, but the man he stood beside paid an even greater price. Number 1, Colin Kaepernick. And there is no debate. This is the most significant, most documented case of blacklisting in the history of American professional sports. In 2012, Kaepernick led the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. He threw for over 4,000 yards and rushed for over 500 in a single season. He was a legitimate franchise quarterback. In 2016, the year he began kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial injustice and police brutality, Kaepernick posted a passer rating of 90.7, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Numbers better than several quarterbacks who were signed as starters the following offseason. Kaepernick opted out of his contract in March 2017. He was 29, in his physical prime, and not a single team in the National Football League signed him. Not as a starter, not as a backup, not for a workout. While quarterbacks with inferior stats, inferior records, and inferior ability were handed contracts worth millions, Colin Kaepernick could not get a meeting. He filed a collusion grievance in October 2017, alleging owners conspired to blacklist him. In February 2019, the case was settled. The terms were confidential. The NFL arranged a workout in Atlanta in November 2019. It was widely called a publicity stunt. Kaepernick held his own workout at a different location. He performed well. No team signed him. Colin Kaepernick has not played a single snap since January 1, 2017. He was 29, he was healthy, he was capable, and he was erased. Not because he could not play football, because he chose to use his platform to speak about injustice. He took a knee, and the most powerful sports league on earth took his career. The NFL has never admitted Kaepernick was blacklisted. They never will. But the settlement says it. The silence of 32 teams over 7 years says it. And the image of a quarterback kneeling alone on a sideline, knowing it would cost him everything, says it louder than words ever could. Colin Kaepernick is number 1. Because his story is not about football, it is about what happens when a man decides his principles are worth more than his paycheck, and an entire league punishes him for it. These are not just football stories. These are stories about power, about who wields it and what happens to those who dare to challenge it. Every player on this list had the talent to play. Every single one was removed, not by competition, but by a system that decided they were too inconvenient, too outspoken, or too different. Now tell me, which story hit you hardest? Which player was treated most unfairly? Drop a comment right now. I read every single one. And here is what I need from you. If this video told you something you had never heard before, if it challenged you, if it moved you, then act on that feeling right now. Subscribe to this channel. We are telling the stories that matter,
the ones the NFL hopes you never hear. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share this video everywhere, send it to your group chat, post it on every platform you have. And if you truly believe in what we are building, drop a super thanks right now. Every dollar is an investment in truth, in stories that refuse to look away. We are building something rare here, something honest, something that matters, and I need you in it. Subscribe, share, comment, super thanks. The next video drops soon, and I promise you it will be worth every second. I will see you there.